then it's like getting called on your bluff. Then it kind of backfires. But
is none other than Tommy Tables himself, and Mike is gonna have him in every single lineup.
Sorry. Are you telling me there's a golfer whose name is Dick Bland? I did.
Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS preview show. My name is Mike, joined with Kyle and Jordan. On Tuesday, March 22nd, we have our Dell Technologies Match Play preview coming up in this episode. But first, Reading the Green is a unique fantasy golf resource that combines great player picks with insights on which fantasy experts actually give the best advice. The result is a biased-free approach that ensures you're not swayed by just tuning into one or two experts each week. With us, you always know where the consensus plays are. If you like this approach, or more importantly, you have fun listening to us every week, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Reading the Green. This is the #1 way to show your support. You can also find our podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. And of course, follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. Again, if you like what you hear, please subscribe or leave some feedback. We have a listener league. We will get to that in the second half of the show. But coming up, we have the Valspar Championship recap. And then again, we'll get to our match play preview. Guys, the US Open is going to be at Oakland Hills in 2051. Should we get tickets?
Maybe my grandkids can?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping my daughters will push me in my wheelchair there.
We're going to be cheering on Charlie?
Your Twitter and the rest of the internet was on fire with this today of the USGA reaching out 29 years in advance to announce US Open sites.
Probably a little aggressive on the grandkids comment, but Jordan's probably right on. Might need some help from our kids to get around the course.
Yeah. I mean, it's I guess my take is they are putting the carrot out there for the crown jewel clubs that in courses that are going to host these events and basically saying like, look, we'll guarantee you 3, 4, 5 majors over the next 30 years, but you're going to have to keep pumping millions of investment into and do what we ask.
Just make sure you rebuild your clubhouse after a big fire.
Yeah, I'm sure there might be another fire.
Yeah, the new clubhouse they're going to build will need to be remodeled at least twice, if not 3 times, before they host it. That's how crazy this is.
I mean, if you look at the upcoming venues, they've really gone away from these like big fancy new courses. I guess like maybe the Erin Hills and Chambers Bay. I guess maybe that experiment has just been a failure. And all of the venues, like Pinehurst has 5 US Opens in the next 25 years. And Oakmont has a bunch. And so they're just going back to the classic clubs over and over, which
I mean,
it's fine.
If it's anything like the Olympics, the clubs are buying off the PGA Tour to host them. Right? Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing.
You just
like
said
it is
all
this
the public
relationship.
courses aren't getting it anymore, and now all the private ones have 5 years worth. I guess Pinehurst is semi-public.
Well, yeah, it's a resort, and you can pay, right? It's like Pebble was going to get US Opens, but you're going to have to pay $600 to play there. Like it's not really accessible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the USGA clearly is taking a stand on what they want their championship to be, and this is what they want. So, anyway, so 2051, I got it on my calendar. The other thing I wanted to get your take on is. If Kyle, you called it. I think you called it probably 4 pods ago. Phil was not going to play in the Masters.
Maybe 2051 is the next time he'll play on tour. I don't know.
I mean, between you saying he wasn't going to play in the Masters and me saying he sacrificed himself for the fate of the PGA Tour, we're both right. I think this is all planned. Like he's waiting until everyone just forgets about him.
I did hear someone say that, Bryson is kind of sneaking into the unique event this week because everyone's looking for Phil and making his return finally. So that take is out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he plays with only one hand.
Do you think Phil's gonna win? Can Phil win the PIP again, or get second at least, without playing a single golf tournament this year? Tiger won without playing.
I think the PGA Tour stole it from Phil this year to begin with, so I think there's a 0% chance he's in the top 10 next year after this.
That's probably a good point. That's probably a good point. So let's jump over to the Valspar Championship and hit on a few things here. I know we wanna save some extra time to talk match play in the second half, but certainly a thrilling finish. Sam Burns wins, making a bomb in the playoff. He looked like he kind of had it wrapped up, and then there was a 2-shot swing late between him and Davis Riley. But Sam Burns goes back to back. Honestly, the coolest thing I thought was Joel Damon with a beer and a T-shirt 30 minutes after his round coming out to watch the playoff and give Burns a big hug after he made that putt. So these guys have fun out there. It's really fun to see.
Yeah, I appreciate how they cheer for each other, and yeah, he waited around and had a good time and greeted him with a beer. What a great friend.
Any other takes from the Valspar? I think I know I talked about in a little bit of the pre-pod of we tend to be surprised when there's a back-to-back winner, but it happens quite a bit. And here we go. Burns goes back-to-back, and how he's won 3 times in the last year.
So this was surprised overall how the course played. It was great conditions, obviously, but the scores were a lot higher than a lot better than we expected.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean we're going all in on? Did Horschel win the match play last year?
He did.
That? Yeah, so we're going all in on Horschel now this week too.
You'll have to wait for the second part of the show to find out.
I'm trying to think of what else we got from the Valspar. I know I commented on Justin Thomas. He's been surprisingly hasn't been able to close. He's been hitting the ball so good. He's been in contention week after week, and his putter I think is just letting him down. He's not making when he putts well. Obviously, that's when he's winning, and he has not been putting well. And Jordan, you just bought the same putter as him, right? So
yeah. It's gonna be a big upgrade over my Costco special. So I'm excited about it.
Mike, probably a little less to say in my part this week because I have to admit I watched a lot more basketball and not quite as much golf this past weekend.
Yeah, I watched maybe 2 holes all weekend with my wife's birthday and my daughter's birthday. It was a busy weekend.
That's fine as long as you got your lineups in and hopefully you made a little bit of money. I know that we had our listener league and another good finish. I was looking for the wire-to-wire win, and it got snatched from me on Sunday by G Bentley 0117. He only had 5. He had 5 guys make the cut. I had 6. Our third place finisher, Arano WM12, had 6 as well, and we both got sniped late in the day. So that was kind of a bummer, but whatever. In the shuffle, I ended up cashing a double up. I probably had no business cashing, and so I was actually probably made more money that way.
I had a pretty good week overall. Our model had some pretty good plays in Fitzpatrick, Joe Dahman, Alex Noren. So that definitely helped out. Cash wise, did pretty solid there. And then I had a 20 max that money 19 of the 20 lineup. So that's always a good start.
Nice work. Yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week in our model. We were pretty high on Matt Fitzpatrick. Another top 10 finish for him. I know you guys said you didn't want. They didn't even show him on TV. And so when I talked before about he's been, outside of the Players Championship and a bad draw, like he hasn't really been competing for wins, but he's been finishing in top 10s almost under the radar. And so he's been certainly paying off the investment.
Top 5. He was 5th this week, right?
Yeah. It was a good finish. But yeah, you're right. We had a couple of nice plays in very few landmines. I think the one, Kyle, we talked about early on, Vaughn Taylor, as he was coasting to an opening 73 or something like that. It was those 6K darlings in our model, we're not necessarily been super successful with.
Yeah, you always have to take the guys under 7K with a grain of salt. But Von Taylor definitely hurt this week. But as we said, overall pretty solid. Sam Burns had a real strong mention share, and obviously took home the title. We talked about Fitzpatrick up there. JT had a nice week. Noren, Shane Lowry, top 15, and our model was on to him too. So overall, it was a pretty solid week if you stuck with the corporate plays.
One of the our best expert of the week was Brandon Gadula, and his number fire article is his DFS preview. He had Fitz, Hadwin, Noren, Dahmen, Kazire, and Oosthuizen, and so that's the third time in the last handful of weeks that he's been our best expert, and actually on a really nice run here. So that's one that I think for the next couple of weeks until he cools off, I really want to be taking a look at and making sure I have a few of his plays in my cores. Anything else on the Valspar? I know you guys didn't watch it. You didn't see the sweet playoff and the bomb that Burns made, but I'll tease the second half of the show and we talk about match play. In that playoff, Davis Riley hit his ball over the green. He had a chip out of some shallow rough, I don't know, 30 feet or so. And Burns actually hit the green, but he had about a 35 or 40 footer. And so he actually played first versus like normally, I think in normal stroke play, the guy off the green probably would have played first. But because it was more of a match play type situation, Burns played first because he was away. He got to play first. He made his putt, and that totally changed things for Davis Riley. Davis Riley ends up hitting a chip that goes 10, 12 feet past because he was super aggressive with it and he had to make it. But because Burns got to play first, it totally changed the dynamic of that finish. And so that's a little tease for how we start to think about match play and some of the strategies. So you guys, first, before we go to break, beers, got to touch on that.
I have Wicked Jump Shot. It was a DDH Pale Ale from Headflyer. We watched a little hoops on this weekend, like I said, and the can feels like a basketball. So it sold me.
That's nice. Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I, on the other hand, have a fridge full of really good beers, and I was going to supply the beers tonight, and then we aren't in person. But I had a friend that was in San Diego, and it's very fitting for the podcast, Dogleg Brewing. They have a giant putting green and simulators in their brewery, and all of their beers are the press, the double press, things like that, all golf. The back nine.
Why are we not doing this?
Lager. And this, I need help. Overlap Outlaw. Is there anything golf related with that?
Yeah, a grip, overlap grip.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I don't know if they're trying to outlaw the overlap grip. It's probably the most traditional. I'm an interlock guy, but
you seem like an interlock guy, Mike.
Well, that's what Tiger did, so that's what I.
But the beer's very good. It's a hazy. Quite delightful, but even
it's a cool concept.
The can has what are those, like topographical, like a green golf course on it. So
that they probably kill it in San Diego. That's probably like a really good spot for that concept.
Yep,
I'm intrigued.
I got one more I can bring next week.
Next time RTG goes down to Torrey Pines, that'll be a spot. So okay, let's break and we'll come back and we'll do our match play preview. All right, let's jump into our Dell Technologies match play preview. Really quick, we do have the Reading the Green Listener League that is available on DraftKings, and we tweeted the link out on Tuesday to that league. So you can go ahead and find that and join our Listener League contest for real money out of our pockets. And we'd love to get to know our listeners through that. So please find that link and join. So Dell Technologies match plays, guys, this is a lot of talk around this tournament as sort of a refreshing week for the PGA Tour, where we just get a different format, something we're not used to, and seeing players operate in different environments. I thought before we kind of got to go through three different sections here. One, I want to talk a little bit about match play golf because it is something we don't see very often in professional golf. And then we'll talk a little bit about strategy for DFS, because this is a week where your strategy probably matters as much or more than the actual players that you draft. And then we'll talk about our recommendations. So Kyle, we talked a little bit in the pre-pod. You said you've never played match play. Jordan, I know you played, probably some club matches. You played like like your member guest and all that.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit different when you're playing in like a member guest or an invitational or something like that, and you're mostly just having fun, to where you're actually trying to compete and strategize through match play. And I think the thing that'll be interesting this week is there's so much going on with these players and their approach that is not going to be seen on TV. It might be talked about on the broadcast, but you won't be able to see it. So I thought I'd bring my 4 tips to approaching match play, entirely on the strategy and sort of the mental approach. I've played a lot of match play in my life competitively, and I don't know that I really figured it out, like how to have an actual strategy, until I was 26 or 27 years old. Like, I lost a lot of matches up until that point, and then from then on, it all kind of made sense, and I've been much, much more successful. So I think obviously in match play, it's you versus your opponent, right? It's not about, like, every week on PGA Tour, it's about you and the course and who's going to shoot the lowest score. But in match play, it's you and your opponent. And I think, like, the way that I approach it is, if I can leave the 18th green or whenever my match is over and not know what I shot, I was probably in the right mental state, right? I'm not keeping score. I don't care if I made a birdie. I don't care if I made a bogey. It's just, did I win a hole or not? And that's the only thing that matters. The second is, and that's kind of tails on this, but like, you got to focus on the win. It's fun to go out and play a career round. It's more fun just to win. And sometimes you don't have your best, but if you can grind out a win, you're going to see that this week. You got to win. You have to win, 4 matches in the knockout stage, and probably 2 or 3 in your group. You're not going to play guys are not going to shoot 64 every single round. So you don't always have to have your best. The other thing I like to say too is match play is a lot like poker. You're going to see guys play their position and take that to their advantage, put pressure on their opponent. I talked about Sam Burns getting to putt first before Davis Riley hit his chip last week. That's a dream match play scenario. Yeah, sure, he'd like to see maybe Riley's chip and see how it breaks near the hole. But more importantly, if he gets to go out and make his putt before his opponent, now you're putting pressure on your opponent. Same thing off the tee. You get to hit first, you bomb a drive down the middle on a tight, short par 4, you put the pressure on your opponent, even before they've had to go out and hit a shot.
What if you slice it off the tee into those
then it's like getting called on your bluff, then it kind of backfires. But it's the opportunity. It's recognizing when you're going to take that calculated risk, and that might not be how you play in stroke play. And that's the cool thing about it, is you can, any one swing does not lose you the match. It just loses you the hole. That's the worst thing that can happen. You make a quadruple bogey in stroke play, you're probably not making the cut. And that's it.
Being able to reset right after the hole, right? And you might be lying 4 in the bunker, and it's like, all right, hole's over, pick it up, and like
move on.
You have to be able to walk straight from the bunker to the next tee box and be okay with it.
I think my game is better suited for match play.
Honestly, like a lot of people, you're gonna see guys this week. A lot of people's are like they just, like Jordan's a great point. Like, get to reset. The thing is, like, you can get a hole in one on a par 3, and your opponent gets a hole in one, and you lose that hole. You go to the next hole and you make bogey, and they make double, and it's all square. Like, it's that type of back and forth. The last thing I'll say is gamesmanship is really important, but just don't be a jerk about it.
Yes.
I like guys taking jabs. I like guys looking for angles. One thing I like to do is I like to give almost any putt inside of 4 feet in the first 7 or 8 holes. Like, I don't want my opponent to feel any pressure until we get to the back nine, and then just randomly they're going to be like, oh crap, I gotta make this 3-footer now. I haven't had a putt one all day. And so like that kind of stuff is cool, but like trying to get in guys' heads and stuff, it's like, come on.
So on that note, and going to the PGA Tour, is there any guy that you look at, the bracket, I'll ask both of you, where you're like, I wouldn't want to play against him just because of his mannerisms or how he acts on the course?
Patrick Reed.
Tiger Woods.
Well,
but so
Reed's
Tiger,
the first place my mind went to, and it's kind of funny. You got Rahm and Reed in the same group, especially Rahm's been a very incredible lately, if you will. So yeah. Anyway, that's the first. When you were talking about that, that's where my mind went.
Patrick Reed has a excellent match play record, right? Tiger Woods does not have an excellent match play record. It takes Ian Poulter, great match play player. Sergio Garcia, great match play player. And that's another point that I had is like guys like Colin Morikawa and Daniel Berger are fantastic players and really haven't performed in match play scenarios all that well. And it's because it's so much more than just being a good player. It's about learning how to kind of maintain a certain approach and put a strategy together and all that. And so, Ian Poulter, we'll get into the picks here in a little bit, but like he's a guy that like you're going to say, what, Ian Poulter's in this field? And but he's going to win matches. That's just the kind of guy he is. So, anyways, I know that was it's quite a few minutes on match play strategy. Yes, Jordan.
I have one match play story for you, Mike. We do nine hole match in our member guest. We got just destroyed the first 4 holes. We were down by 3, right? And it's almost over at that point.
Yeah.
We halved a couple holes. We were 3 down with 3 to go this last year. We won, what was that, hole 7. We won hole 8, hole 9, dunked it from 80 yards. That is how you piss off someone that you're playing against.
And you know
right
what?
There.
It's kind of too bad that was a 9th hole. You'd love to have played another 9 holes against them because I guarantee that momentum would have just like, and that's the other thing. I mean, if you keep going, but like, you should never be surprised when your opponent makes a great shot. If you are bothered by your opponent making a great shot, you are just giving up your edge.
Yep.
So
yeah, and it's a lot more mental than regular golf, because regular golf it's just you. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Here it's all about they didn't give me that putt. Those bad words. Right. Like,
but so that's part of it. That's just it's kind of figuring out where you fit in mentally and kind of sticking to that. And once I figured that out, it was just night and day difference in the success that I've had. But anyways, let's get into the Dell technologies here. So Kyle, I know there's a lot to be made of strategy this week in building a DFS lineup. It's not all that complicated, right?
Right. And if you've listened to other podcasts, you've probably heard people talk about it ad nauseum. That said, we were blown away last year when we played this in DraftKings in this event. How many people did not follow it and basically shot themselves in the foot right off the bat? So we'll talk through it a little bit. Your first 4 picks need to be from 4 different, we'll call it regions. So if you think about the NCAA tournament, and you have the 4 different parts of the bracket, the West, East, South, Midwest, your first 4 picks need to be in 4 different regions completely. The idea there is you're giving yourself a shot at getting all 4 of your picks to the final 4. And then secondly, your last 2 pieces of your lineup need to make sure they're not going to meet somebody else until what we'll call is the lead 8, or in this case, the quarterfinals. So for example, looking at John Rahm's bracket, and I would highly suggest you print or pull up a bracket when you're doing your builds tonight, early tomorrow morning. If you want to go with John Rahm, you should only have one other player between him, or at most one other player between him and Mackenzie Hughes. So yeah, you want to go Dustin Johnson and John Rahm, that would work. Brooks Koepka and John Rahm, I would not suggest that as a good strategy, because they would face each other in the second round potentially.
Does the Koepka bucket exist here, Kyle?
I could see this as being a Kepka type event. If you get somebody gets his blood boiling, let's go.
I don't know. He's got our guy in Pine to Palm match play alumni Eric Van Rooyen in his group. I'm hesitant to go Koepka there.
No, to answer that, no, I don't think I'll have Brooks Koepka, but I could see that play.
So it's pretty easy, Kyle, right? Like you spread your players out, you make sure that you could get 6 of the final 8 guys. If everything worked out great, you'd have 6 of the final 8. And there's enough options there. I think the thing is that depending on like what prep you're using, if you're doing like I know what we can get to this a little bit later, but if you're getting to like a 20 max or 150 max, you're going to have to put some work in. Otherwise, you are going to have a lot of lineups that start to beat up on each other. So it shouldn't be that difficult to build a core with guys in the right spots.
Yeah, definitely take a little bit more time building this week. If you are doing those bigger build type lineups, a little different than a single entry contest.
Of course.
Yeah.
So do you want to jump into?
I'm not looking forward to this, Mike. Full disclosure, this one.
Yeah. So
no, it's fun.
Jumping into the model, we'll start. I'll highlight the 2 leading the way by mention share, and then we can talk about some of our plays. But we have to start at the top. I really can't believe this, to be honest, but the consensus at this point with everyone who's going to be in, we did miss a couple articles this week, but who aren't putting out one. But at 48% mention share is none other than Tommy Tables himself. And Mike is going to have him in every single lineup.
I'm sorry, you said you can't believe that?
I can't.
You can't believe that. The guy that won the 2009 Pine to Palm, can't believe it, huh?
Well, I think you probably have some good reasons why we should believe it.
Just a gritty match play player. Frankly, that is not why he's getting the love in the expert community. The reason he's getting the love in the expert community is because he's $6,800 and he's in a group with he's in a pretty. I don't know why I'm struggling to find his group on my bracket. I can't follow numbers very well.
Horschel, Peters, and Emily. I don't even know who Emily is.
Min Woo Lee. See, the Min Woo Lee and Thomas Peters, who have been mostly garbage the last handful of weeks. And, Horschel certainly is the defending champ, and he's been playing well. But, Hoagie is the top 10 player this season right now. And so this feels like an obvious misprice, and I think it's going to drive a ton of ownership. But I don't know. I mean, the problem before all this came out, I was on him just because he's the local match play legend around here. But
I completely agree on price though. So Horschel, for example, is 8,800, and how is Hoagie 6,800? 2,000 K. 2,000.
I don't know.
So, question for you guys: do they do this bracket based on world golf ranking?
Yeah. And it's seeded. So they basically take 4 sets of 16 and do them random. So the first 16 guys are spread out randomly. And then world golf ranking numbers 17 to 30. Don't make me do math. 32 are then spread out randomly among the 16 groups. And then the next 16, right? So it's not like.
So that's where his group is a joke, but the other part of their region is Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, and Poulter, who that would be the group of death in the World Cup, right?
Yeah, no, and there are a couple other, that's one of them. Then there are a few that are groups of death where you're just like, okay, well, it's kind of too bad that so and so has to try to make it out of this group. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in talking about group of death, I think that actually brings up someone else we were going to talk about is, Alex Noren had a great week last week, but his group is Oosthuizen, Paul Casey, Corey Connors, and Alex Noren. And I'll let you talk about Noren, Mike, but that's a tough group overall.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy, I mean, we chatted a little bit about this, but he's got like an 84% win rate at Austin Country Club in this tournament. And it's really hard to pass that up. But then you also have a match play specialist like Paul Casey. You have obviously a really strong player in Ustays. And actually, here's a good example. We talked about the randomization. Like you have the number 10 player and the number 19 player in the same group, and so it seems pretty top heavy there, and that's going to be really tough for Noren to get through those three guys. But I like Noren a lot this week. I think again he's probably going to be pretty chalky too, but I do think he's got some of the best form in that group of four, and then matches up pretty well against frankly what is not a very good match play group next to theirs in Schauffele, Finau, Herbert, and Kanaya. I mean, Rick Gaiman made a pretty good case for Lucas Herbert there, just thinking that, Finau and Schauffele are not great match play players. And it would not surprise you to see a lower seed come out of that group either.
I mean, Finau's not a very good golfer right now either.
Yet he shoots like 59 every time he's on Instagram on his home course. He shoots in the 50s.
So does Kyle.
Well, you actually brought up one of the guys that is also getting a lot of love on our sheet, and that's Xander Schauffele. And yes, doesn't have as great of history in match play events, but I would say so far he's had a lot of top tens, but then the events he has won have kind of been the unique type contests, the Olympics, for example. Mm-hmm. So he's coming in at 48% mention share this week. And a lot of the contributors that are on him have been our strong ones to date. So I think he's someone I'm certainly going to look at in that region just because of, the weakness in his group. I'm not scared of Finau. Herbert, you can make a case there.
I wouldn't be scared of Herbert. I was just saying if you wanted a
and I'm going to pull Jordan because I do not know who Kanaya is. So
good. Well, and Herbert's brother is a better football player than he is a golfer.
Yeah.
You can't take him.
Okay, so let's reset. We said Hoagie Schauffele at the top, 48% mention share. And then Noren was up there too at 33. Who else you want to call out at the top of the model, Kyle?
Someone else that's getting quite a bit of love, 34%, is Taylor Gooch. And again, we're not just looking at some of the recommended plays this week, where we also are, from a player perspective, we are looking at their draws as well. So Taylor Gooch has fallen in the group with Bryson, who's coming off a long layoff, and talk about someone you can maybe get under their skin a little bit and get in their head. Lee Westwood and Richard Bland. So I think he can get out of that group.
Sorry. Are you telling me there's a golfer whose name is Dick Bland?
You didn't see him pop up. You didn't see him pop up last year, did you? He had a nice season. He kind of came out of nowhere.
Mike, you can't talk about Dick Bland popping up either.
Number 60 in the world golf rankings. Out of over the pond, Richard Bland.
Yeah, he did have a nice season last year. I can't remember what tournament it was where he kind of was it. Maybe British Open might have been where he came out. They didn't have a British Open last year, did they? I don't know. He's not a complete nobody. He plays very well on the European Tour. But the guy that I wanted to
he's also 50 years old.
Yeah, he's got game.
So Taylor Gooch out of that group.
No, hold on, but I want to back you up on that, Kyle, because I think DeChambeau. Here's my take on DeChambeau this week. Obviously, he hasn't played, and so we don't know what we're going to get. I don't recall what DeChambeau did in Ryder Cup singles last year, but he is an excellent player to have in a 4-ball match, right? He is total like risk reward. Hit it a mile. It might be in the junk. It might not. That's really great when you pair him with a partner that's going to be steady in the fairway and can bail him out and back him up with pars and all that. In a singles match play tournament, I don't know that I trust the DeChambeau style of play, that he's just going to get himself in trouble too often to be able to hang for 15 to 18 holes.
It's a great point. And something else too with bringing up Gooch, you're going to have to look at places to save some salary this week. We've talked about Hoagie. Gooch is only 7,700, but if you want to reach, especially if you want to get more than one of the studs, you're going to have to go lower somewhere. And so it's really trying to find that balance. And, as someone who I would consider the second best guy in that group from just a general golfer standpoint, 7,700 is a pretty great place to start. And one other thought on the I guess seeding, and they did change, and Mike, you and I were talking about this, and that's the change they made is the randomization of those layouts this year. But last year, going back to last year, 24% of the lowest seeds in the 4 pods was the person to come out of that group. So last year, 1 out of of the 16 groups, 4 of them were won by the lowest person in that group. So something to keep in mind. It's not going to play out chalk.
So you're taking Dick Bland. He had his first tour win last year.
Yeah.
In his 25th year on the European Tour. He's getting hot at the right time. He's going to take the senior PGA Tour by storm.
This is a tournament where you're going to want some kind of seasoned grit to just grind out a couple of good holes, and that's what it's going to take. I'm trying to tell you guys that this is not about who has their best stuff. It's about who gets to play the right guys at the right time and figures out how to win. You're going to win with bogeys. Billy Horschel last year in the championship match hit a shot that didn't get more than 10 feet off the ground and went about 40 yards. It was like a reverse shank, just kind of went straight left. You can hit those kind of shots in match play because it doesn't matter.
I know we're spending a lot of time on Dick Bland here, but Jordan, you left out the best part. His first win was at the Betfred British Masters hosted by Danny Willett.
Oh, right. So his kid hosted it for him.
There are guys out there that have they don't peak until they're 45 years old. This is, you guys, this should be encouraging for you guys. You still have years to become a professional golfer.
That's a great point. I still have years to figure out how to shoot under 90.
Got to get rid of that banana on your shots there.
He did make the cut at the U.S. Open last year, though. Finished 50th.
All right, I have my homework to go figure out where he was. He was leading a big tournament at some point in the last 2 years, and I
actually think you're right. So the British Open last year, Morikawa won, right?
Okay, so the British Open last year, it was 2020 that we didn't have one. Okay, British Open last year.
Yeah, and once I saw this picture, that's
okay. British Open last year.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else? Obviously, this is such a crapshoot this week, and I think we can't say enough. Just put your guys in the right spots in the bracket, and don't overthink who you're taking. Just give yourself a chance. But Kyle, I know. Did you want to talk a little bit about GPP strategy?
Yeah, so from a 20 max standpoint too, I'm going to do one just because it's going to be fun. I think to try to do it, but again, you can't take your normal 20 max approach. So really, you're going to do instead of cascading core, I would say you're doing a cascading quad. So and just maybe out of your 4 max, your 4 main guys, just rotate people through in that same quad in a similar price point, and then come back to your players 5 and 6 and find the pivots from there. It's going to take a lot more time, but unless you're using a lineup builder such as the one on Rick Rungood, something like that, that's really how you're going to have to approach it. But I enjoy doing those builds, so I'm going to take a shot.
I think that's where you're going to have the best chance to come with a good payout this weekend is in some of those bigger GPP contests, because you are going to have such a high percentage of people that won't put the work in, and you'll have a decent chance to just basically start in the top 75% of the field. So I'll be there with you.
And one last thought too. Sorry, I had this written off to the side. I wanted to mention, but I think a guy that's going to catch a lot of ownership this week is Maverick McNeely, because he's only $6,200 because he came into the field as a replacement. So I think that's someone that's going to have a lot of ownership for the people that are going to try to go with a couple studs at the top of their lineup. So just something to keep in mind if you want to be on it with people. I think that's a place to look. Or if you want to pivot, that's somebody that you might want to stay away from.
It's tough for me to build my all local lineup. I need Hoagie, I need Van Royen, and I need McNeely because he used to vacation somewhere near in northern Minnesota. I need those three guys. I think they're going to attract a ton of ownership. Well, not Van Royen, but the other two.
Well, I think you're okay there because looking at where those guys fall, though, you can still get with some pretty interesting builds. I mean, you could probably at a price point, go with you could go Morikawa is probably not going to draw a ton of ownership if you want to. You want to do your pivot, top the lineup there. Maybe sprinkle in an Adam Scott on the other side of the bracket for McNeely, and I think you got something there that'll play.
You got a good northern Minnesota lineup that's probably not going to get you any money.
Yeah,
we'll see. Let's see about that. That might be my listener league. That might be my listener league.
It has
money
to be
where my mouth is.
It has to be.
Jordan, did we get your second recommended play of the week?
No. Wait, was my first one Dick Bland? Because that's I like much more exciting picks than someone whose name is Bland. But no, I'm gonna have a lot of Harmon this week. I think he's got the game that'll frustrate a lot of people in match play. He's going to hit the fairway. He's going to hit the green. He's not going to get a ton of birdies, not going to get a ton of bogeys. And I think, Kyle, you said the course favors left-handed players. He's done pretty good. It's Pete Dye again, right? I think one of the articles I read. Yeah. He's done really well.
A little shorter.
He's done really well on Pete Dye courses. So, and I'm not, Answer Simpson, I'm probably the most worried about in his group. Coming back from his injury, he's been playing pretty well, but I'm gonna give Harmon a try. He's I like those short lefties.
Yeah, I like that play, and to be honest, I'm kind of surprised Webb Simpson's playing in this again. Coming back, and he kind of faded on Sunday. If you're going to compete in something like this, you think you'd be going out to win. That'd be playing 6 rounds again in over 5 days. So I like that call there. Bubba could be a tough out, but I like the rest of his group.
All right. Well, I think that we throw a lot of names out there. We kind of know where at the top of our model sits. We can't say enough. Just be smart about putting your lineups together. We'll have our recommended plays out sometime on Tuesday evening. Obviously, if you're listening to this on Wednesday morning and beyond, those might be a little stale. But make sure if you didn't catch our listener league this week for the match play, that link is out there to join the league in general. So you can join that for a contest that we'll have every week. We'd love to have a few more folks join and play DraftKings with us. So let's wrap it up there. Again, go out to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find our podcast on any of the major podcast platforms, follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast. Looking forward to talking to everybody in a week and recapping what is hopefully going to be a very exciting match play week. See ya.